When we talk about forgiveness, people often imagine it as a clean slate, a total erasure of what has happened. Yet in truth, forgiveness is far more nuanced than that. Life does not give us an eraser. The experiences we go through leave their marks, whether they are scars, wrinkles of wisdom, or silent lessons. The phrase forgive and forget has been repeated so often that many believe forgetting is an essential ingredient of forgiveness. But in reality, forgetting is neither possible nor necessary. What truly matters is learning how to forgive while still remembering, how to hold the memory without letting it poison your present, how to live with balance when the echoes of the past refuse to disappear. Imagine for a moment the times you have been wronged. Maybe someone betrayed your trust, broke their promises, or hurt you in ways words can hardly capture. The memory is still there. It resurfaces unexpectedly, in quiet moments or during conversations, as if reminding you that your mind has cataloged it permanently. Forgetting in such cases is almost impossible. Our brains are wired for survival, and they tend to hold on to painful events more strongly than happy ones. This isn't a flaw. It's a protective mechanism. The problem is not that we remember, but that we often fuse memory with pain, allowing the past to control the present. Forgiveness, then, becomes a conscious choice to release the grip of resentment, even if the memory persists. It is saying to yourself, yes, this happened. Yes, I carry the memory. But no, I will not let it control my peace anymore. Forgiveness is not about excusing the behavior or diminishing the harm. It is about freeing yourself from the continuous suffering that comes when you replay the hurt endlessly. Think of it like this. If someone throws a stone at you, the wound may eventually heal, but the scar will remain. Forgiving without forgetting means you acknowledge the scar. You honor it as part of your story, but you refuse to let it define who you are. The scar reminds you of your resilience, of the lessons you learned, of the boundaries you now set. Forgetting would erase all of that wisdom, but forgiving allows you to carry the memory without the bitterness. Why is it so difficult to forgive without forgetting? Because our emotions and memories are tied together. Every time we recall an incident, we feel the emotions associated with it. Neuroscience shows that memory recall is not passive. When we remember, we actually relive. This is why simply remembering a painful betrayal can tighten your chest, raise your heart rate, or make your stomach knot. The mind brings back not just the facts, but the feelings. The art of forgiveness is in rewiring that association, teaching yourself to recall without reliving the same depth of pain. So how do we do this in practice? First, we must allow ourselves to truly feel the pain. Avoiding or suppressing it only makes it linger longer, like an unpaid emotional debt that grows with interest. Sit with the memory, acknowledge how much it hurt, and allow yourself to grieve the loss of trust, the loss of innocence, or the loss of connection. This grief is necessary because forgiveness is not about skipping over the pain, but walking through it. Once we've allowed ourselves to acknowledge the pain, we need to reframe what the memory means. For example, if someone betrayed your trust, the lesson might not be, I should never trust anyone again. Instead, it might be, I need to be more discerning about who I give my trust to. This subtle but profound shift turns the memory into a teacher rather than a tormentor. In this way, remembering becomes empowering rather than imprisoning. Another practice is empathy, not necessarily towards the one who hurt you, at least not immediately, but towards yourself. Many people struggle with self-blame after being wronged. They ask, "Why did I allow this? How did I not see it coming? What's wrong with me?" Forgiving without forgetting requires you to show compassion to yourself, to accept that being hurt does not make you weak. It makes you human. Once you give yourself that empathy, you may also find space to consider the humanity of the person who wronged you. That doesn't mean excusing their behavior. It simply means recognizing that people act out of their own wounds, ignorance, or limitations. This recognition can reduce the emotional charge attached to the memory. Forgiveness without forgetting also requires boundaries. When we forgive, it doesn't mean we must invite the same harm again. Forgiveness is about your internal state. Boundaries are about your external protection. If someone has hurt you deeply, forgiving them does not mean putting yourself in the same vulnerable position again. It means you can let go of hatred while still deciding, "I choose not to allow this person the same access to me." In this way, memory guides your boundaries while forgiveness frees your heart. One of the greatest misconceptions is that forgiveness is a one-time event. More often, it is a process. You may forgive someone in your heart, feel lighter, and then weeks later, a memory may trigger the pain again. Does this mean your forgiveness was false? Not at all. It simply means the memory has layers, and each layer requires revisiting the decision to forgive. It's like tending to a wound. It doesn't heal overnight, but with repeated care, the pain gradually subsides. Think of forgiveness as a practice in emotional balance. Financially, we often talk about balance sheets, about assets and liabilities. If resentment and bitterness are emotional liabilities, then compassion, self-respect, and wisdom are emotional assets. Holding on to grudges increases your liabilities. Choosing forgiveness, even without forgetting, adds to your assets. Over time, you become emotionally wealthy, not because your life was free of hurt, but because you knew how to manage it wisely. So the next time you are faced with the echo of a painful memory, pause and ask yourself, am I choosing to relive the pain, or am I choosing to remember with wisdom? Am I allowing this memory to chain me to the past, or can I let it become a stepping stone to a freer future? Forgiveness without forgetting is not about pretending the hurt never happened. It's about reclaiming your right to peace. It's about holding the memory in one hand and your freedom in the other, and choosing to live with balance, resilience, and grace. That is the true practice of emotional balance, and it is a practice worth carrying with you every single day. If this resonated with you, please subscribe so that we can build a community together.